On the air with me right now, 35th District Representative Drew MacEwen. Good morning, Drew.
Morning, Jeff.
Nice to see you here in studio.
Yeah, it worked out today to be here.
Kind of nice here.
Yes.
Let's talk about some of the things that have been going on in the legislature. Education funding bill from the Senate has come out now, and so maybe some starting to talk about some things.
Yeah. I'm pleased that I was briefed on it a few weeks ago, and then they made it public on Friday. And as we know, we got the McCleary issue, and the crux of McCleary is that local districts over reliance on local levies to fund basic education. And the Supreme Court has said that over reliance is unconstitutional, and so that's really the biggest crux of the case. And so the Senate plan, in essence, is going to, in a very basic level, the bill is huge. So
I can imagine.
So I'll try to give it the 30,000-foot view here, but the money follows the student, and it'd be roughly $12,500 per student. Which you look at some other states, Colorado, for instance, number 2 in the nation in education. They spend about $9,000 per student. So we're well above that. But it would reduce the local levy for districts such as ours. Shelton would see taxpayers for the school district of Shelton would actually see a tax decrease, but you would see more funding going to the district. As what would happen is, in the simplest terms, is the levy, the state portion of the levy, is going to ensure that enough money is raised. And so in districts like in Shelton, where the levy rate is $4.69, that levy rate is going to come down substantially to I believe around $1.50. I might be mistaken on that, but it's a substantial cut. Mm-hmm. But yet the whole funding amount is going to be more. And this is a quasi way of doing what's been called the levy swap.
Yeah.
So you have districts like in Seattle where they can raise substantially a lot more money with a $1 levy than we can here in Shelton. Mm-hmm. So they're going to actually see a little bit of an increase, but it's to level the playing field so that all students are receiving the same high-quality education across the state. And that's the crux of the Senate plan. So a lot of districts are going to see a tax cut. Districts are going to see more money coming in, and the other part of this, which I think is going to be key, and this, like any massive overhaul, this is going to get tweaked along the way. But the key to this is that it's going to go to the voters at the end of the day. I mean, we'll vote a plan out of the legislature, but it's got a referendum clause, and I really think that that's important for the citizens of this state to have the final say to approve it or reject it, and then that also kind of puts the court in a situation to, if the voters approve or reject something, it's kind of tough for the state Supreme Court to say, well, you haven't done your job when you've got,
You did your job, and we got the vote for
it. When you have 3.5 million voters in the state say, yeah, we like it, and or vice versa. So that's a very high-level view of the plan. A couple of key points: special needs, special education situations would be fully funded because the $12,500 doesn't work in those situations. Those would be fully funded through state and federal programs. So things like that are taken care of. And there's also some caveats because we have districts, especially in eastern Washington, you have some school districts that have literally 100, 140 kids total, and this plan wouldn't work on that. And so there's a couple of catch things in there that districts such as that don't take a cut in their current funding level, and the intent of this plan is that no one sees a decrease. So that's important to point out as well.
Are you hearing anything from the Democrats about certain portions of this that they are agreeable to or willing to then start these conversations moving forward?
So I was encouraged by the House Majority Leader, Pat Sullivan. He's a Democrat Majority Leader in the House. His I don't think he's made any subsequent comments, but his one comment was, "I'm glad they've released one. Look forward to digesting it and reading it." And so I take that as an encouragement as opposed to out-of-hand rejection.
Yeah, that's true.
I think the train is starting to leave the station and getting some momentum, both on that issue and on the budget issue. The Senate's been in a little bit of disarray the past week because people moving on to the new federal administration, and so that's slowed things down in the Senate. But I do think the talks behind the scenes are continuing to go, and the key people involved there haven't changed.
And what else has the House been up to in the last week and looking forward?
Not a lot.
Just still more of the same?
It's a lot of committee work.
Okay.
We haven't had any floor action. We've had the one vote regarding the levy.
Yeah.
And that's just the nature where we're at in the session.
Mm-hmm.
So we continue to do the committee works. In the next couple of weeks, we have what's called the committee cutoff.
Yep.
And the bills that have passed out of committee will then move on to the House floor if they're pulled to the floor for a vote. So the action will be changing here in a few weeks, and we'll be doing a lot more floor votes and be out of committee for a little while we take up House action. But continue to have budget meetings every day and working through that and. We're going through what we call Bug Red, which is budget reduction exercises, and I think it's important to do that. And the way we do is we'll go agency by agency, and we being on the House Republican side, and then the Democrats do something similar. But it's to go through and say, yeah, okay, we can cut that. Because when you do it kind of line item by line item, it's a little different than saying, well, we'll just cut ecology by X amount of dollars. That's a little tough to do. It's easier when you're going line by line. So we go through this process. At the end, then our the budget writing staff will come back and say, okay, here are your total cuts, and either you're positive or negative, and you got to do more work or not. So we're probably about halfway through that process right now, and it's an interesting process to see some of these figures and to be able to really dive into some things and question things.
Every year in the National and the Senate, I believe, one of the senators puts forth the waste report, like how much you spend on scientific experiments for frogs that jump high or something like that. Can you tell me some of the things that you found that are maybe a little suspect that you definitely put a line through?
The things that are irritating to me that I continue to ask more questions about and waiting for the information to come back on is agencies will outgrow their office, or the state doesn't necessarily own every office that we have people in.
Yeah.
So some things are rented. We do own some. The thing that's driving me nuts lately is there'll be a line item for $152,000 to move. And I'll say, well, where are they now, and where are they moving to? And I've come to find out they're in Olympia, and they're moving within Olympia to another location. I said, how is that $152,000? And you start to dive into some of these things. That makes absolutely no sense to me. And what I'm often finding is there's things that are packed into there. Well, they're going to buy some new this, new that, and it's like, well, that's not the moving expense.
Sure.
And when you start to ask some of these questions, that to me is a frustration. Don't try to tell me or any voter in this state that's going to cost $150,000 to move 6 blocks for an 8-person agency.
Wow.
That's just absurd. And so you start to dig into some of these things and it's good to do that. The downside to that is that maybe we slash $100,000 out of that equation. It's a $40 billion budget.
Yeah, not even a drop in the bucket.
But it's important to
you got to do the exercise.
Yeah, and it's and you have to be good stewards of the taxpayer money. And I resent that these kinds of things happen where I don't want to say hide, but for lack of a better word, they're hiding other expenses in there, and people that have been in the legislature for a long time, they don't even bat an eye at it. And so still, I'm in my 3rd term now, but it's the first time I've been this involved in the budget process, and those numbers stand out to me, and they might not to some that have been there long because they've seen it so much.
Yeah, well, that's what it costs to move.
Well, it shocks the heck out of me when I see it, because that's not how much it costs.
That's a lot of money for one little move. You can find Drew on the websites at houserepublicans.wa.gov/Drew-MacEwen. Probably better just to Google Drew's name there to get there, and we'll post the links on the website as well. Appreciate you coming in and talking every week with us.
Absolutely,
Good
my
to
pleasure.
see you. Do you know you have access to the fastest internet in Washington State? Switch to iFiber Communications right now and take advantage of our special offers. Pay only $29.95 for 100 megabit high-speed internet, or get 3 months of internet absolutely free. That's right, $29.95 for 100 megabit speeds or 3 months of internet free. Shop, stream, and game like never before with iFiber Communications high-speed internet. Call 360-427-4000 or check us online at ifiber.tv. Subject to credit approval, valid on a 24-month contract.